Hi, this is Bobby Ryan of the Detroit Red Wings, and you are listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mac, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 78 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Nick Manella. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you all for joining us on this most difficult of days. We once again find ourselves in this most humbling of positions where our Washington Capitals have proven themselves to be incompetent come playoff time. Unfortunately, this is a feeling that I am quite familiar with, but life goes on.
Hey, makes you feel any better? I got my heart snapped in half last night.
Yeah.
So I can kind of relate to your pain.
This is a collective grieving episode. This is like a group therapy session for everyone.
Yeah, pens aren't out, but it's not looking great. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my other co-host, Mac Vogel. How you doing, buddy?
Hey.
Morning. How are you?
I'm alive still, just hanging out. Took all of me to I actually tried to avoid hockey entirely yesterday. I was just like feeling really shitty about it all, and then went to the Bucks game, had some fun there, came home. The Oilers game was still going on, so I did flip on the double OT and then watch it finish up in triple OT, which I will say the one silver lining out of all this is, at the very least, it is kind of nice to be able to watch the playoffs and like have no vested interest anymore. Yes. And just like root for fun hockey games to happen,
Just root for chaos.
If literally that's the only thing that I can be excited about, it's like, God, fuck me. And normally it's like, okay, I would like if that happened maybe after the second round or like the third round or whatever, after we at least like show that we have some fucking pride. But like, bro, one fucking postseason win. One.
Nope. We're going to dive all into it real soon. Yeah, just a rainy Tuesday morning that none of us are really enjoying here. So we're passing the time. I'm going to toss it off to Nick to go over some news, and then we'll really recap all this fucking bullshit we call hockey. So,
well, some good news to get to. First of all, we do have an update on John Tavares. He's going to need 2 weeks to recover from a knee injury, as well as a concussion that he sustained in that ugly hit where he fell into Corey Perry's knee. And they said he's going to need at least 2 weeks, which I think is completely understandable. So wishing him the best, and hopefully he gets back soon. And hopefully the Leafs are still in the playoffs after 2 weeks. So
is that really it? 2 weeks? I'm not going to lie. I when this happened, I thought there was a chance like he might not play again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was like, he's not playing for the rest of the year, but I don't know. I mean, it could be longer. You never know with that kind of stuff.
I think it's 2 weeks for the knee, and then they don't
right, and then concussion.
Guess, yeah, that's true because there's never a timetable with a concussion. So
exactly.
Right.
Nazem Kadri was suspended for that high hit he had on Justin Falk, and they gave him 8 playoff games. What did you guys think about that? Did you think that was too much, or?
Well, first off, fun stat. Any team that Kadri's played for, and I read this on Friedman's Twitter yesterday, he's missed 31% of playoff games when he's playing with teams historically that he's been a part of. That's fucking nuts, dude. I mean, that's like, you're talking about a third of your postseason career being suffered in suspension. That's crazy to me. So, yeah, it was a really dirty hit. I don't know if I could say we all agree on that. I don't think we've talked about it yet, but I personally did think it was dirty.
I did.
Yeah, he's a repeat offender. He's done this, this is his 3rd playoff suspension, I believe, and I think 5th suspension overall. Don't quote me on those numbers. Yeah, I mean, we'll see now he did file an appeal. Did we say that?
Yes, he did.
It's like the definition of a flying elbow too. I mean, it's literally just coming across the middle of the ice and chucking an elbow at somebody's head. So
I thought it was a dirty hit for sure. I was just surprised that the league went with 8 games. I was like watching that and
It
I'm
does
like,
seem a little bit much. I mean, like we've talked about all year, there's really no consistency with it, and it doesn't. You try to compare hits with other ones, and good luck when you start trying to do that, because I mean, the list of hits that are equally as bad as that one or possibly worse as that one and didn't get as many games. I mean, it's just where do you even begin with all that shit?
it sort of reminded me of like the Rafi Torres situation where, now once we're into the playoffs and he hits someone and it's dirty, it's just going to be like each time he does it, the suspension is just going to grow. So,
Yeah. It's going to suck that they don't have him when I assume, will be playing Vegas next round. So that's a huge loss for them. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also his 8 games like won't start until that series starts. It's not like he can get some out of the way in the first round because it's already said and done. So
yeah, no, I understand.
Mac, we talk about things being inconsistent all year. One of the things that a lot of people have been saying has been inconsistent so far this postseason is officiating just across the board. And Hurricanes head coach Ron Brindamore thinks so as well, saying to the media the other day that his team is battling 2 opponents, the Nashville Predators and the officiating staff. I'm sure he'll get some backlash for that, but what have your guys' thoughts been on the officiating that you've seen across the board? I know we have opinions about the Caps and Bruins series, but I think across the board it's been pretty sketchy.
Yeah, I think inconsistent is just like you said the best word for it. It's random. It's you turn on a game and you have no idea what they're gonna let go, and especially the ones that have been the most inconsistent for me are the stuff after the whistle. Like I've seen so many plays where there's like little chippy shit after the whistle, and certain games the refs will come flying in and take a guy from each team. Certain times they'll come flying in and take one random guy out of even if both teams were like stirring shit up, they'll just like pick a guy and decide that what he did was worse than what anyone else did, and somebody gets a power play out of it. And then sometimes they just won't do anything, which like I'm fine with like taking both guys sometimes, and I'm fine with like taking nobody most of the time, to be honest. I wish they would just continue to do that and let them play. I think all the after whistle stuff is, whatever, just let it happen, unless it's like guys throwing straight up like haymakers. But yeah, we talked about it with the Caps and Bruins, like you said. I mean, it's not always going to be both guys when there's stuff like that, but sometimes it is. And yeah, they've been totally inconsistent with that stuff. And yeah, it definitely should improve, but I don't know if it will.
I can't look at Nick seriously right now. Dude, that mustache is just so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, off topic. As far as officiating, yeah, no, I agree. I think it's exactly what Max said. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 episodes ago, but put this on a t-shirt. Quote, sometimes it's not both guys.
Yeah.
Mac Vogel. That's really the gist of it. I mean, it's inconsistently consistent. And what I mean by that is you're still getting the classic playoff refereed games where you're probably going to have both teams have the same amount of penalties. You're getting makeup calls. Maybe if you call a soft one, you'll call a soft one another team. That hasn't changed. What has changed is how they're making them. I mean, some of these penalties they're calling them for are not penalties. And some of the things that aren't being called are complete penalties.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can only speak for what I've witnessed so far, but at least the one thing that's remained the same is, in the final, I'd say 5 minutes of the third period. And if there's overtime, it's all out war. There ain't no whistles.
The whistles are away
Yep.
at that point, which at
Right.
like you said, at the very least, I'm happy about that.
And I'm fine
Right.
with that. And I think that's what we all want. But like when you're calling the entire game really, really ticky tacky up until that last 5 minutes and then just decide to put them away, and then all of a sudden it's, a gong show.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I'd like to see more games where like literally each team gets like a power play, like one gets one in the first, the other gets one in the second, and that's just it. Like that is it.
And I know Brindamore had some stats to back it up. Like I think it was the Predators had like 8 power play chances and the Hurricanes had like 3, which I know, down, at the end of the day comes down to they took 8 penalties and the other team took 3, but still.
Right. Well, I think the Caps Bruins series put on full display more than any other series what officiating was going down. So, um, you guys want to start hopping into the series recaps, as painful as this might be for some of us?
Yeah, sure. Let's just get through this.
Okay, I'll let you go.
So the Boston Bruins end up beating the Washington Capitals 4-1. Mac, do you want to start?
I guess. Yeah, no, I'm just sick of it. It sucks doing the same fucking rant 3 years in a row. It sucks losing in 5 games 2 years in a row. Yeah, it's embarrassing for sure. The way they played this postseason. I don't think there was really any heart at all. The one thing that I will say that maybe you can use as an excuse is I think that there's no doubt that the pivotal moment in this series was the double overtime screw up between
Absolutely.
Samsonov and God, what defenseman was it?
Justin Schultz.
Which one of our weak defensemen was it that didn't show up for the postseason? Schultz, yeah. So if it's double overtime in a 1-1 series, and like whoever wins that game, probably, I don't know. I seriously think if the Caps won that game, maybe they'd find some life and win the series or something like that, but they don't. So
Absolutely. I don't think
one
you
of
can
those
look at
things.
anything else as the turning point.
No, and I mean, like you said, there's a bunch of overtime games, right? There was the first 3 games go to OT. So I mean, the Caps had a chance to be up 3-0 in the series if they played a little bit better, but they just didn't. And the superstars didn't show up. I thought that Backstrom really disappointed me, and I don't think I've ever said that in my entire life, because almost every game I've ever watched, as bad as the Caps have played in certain games, he's been the one guy that I feel like shows up and plays hard every single night. He didn't look like he was like into it. He looked like bored out there. He was like kind of making lazy plays, and that's just not what I'm used to seeing from a guy like Nick Backstrom. And so what that tells me is that there's a locker room issue. And I think we figured out the coaching thing last year. And I like where we're at with that. And I would like to see Peter continue to, work his systems into this Caps team. But there's clearly an issue with the players, in my opinion. Somebody needs to go. I think we all know Kuznetsov needs to go. I don't know if that's the only problem. I don't know if you ditch him and everything magically fixes itself. Hopefully it's just that. I don't fucking know. But there's got to be a big shakeup this offseason. I hope that it's not like, I don't want to see Oshie go. I obviously want to see Ovi resign. And I expect him to, but I would love to see Kuzi get bounced and a handful of other smaller things. The last thing I'll say is that Hagelin, Dowd, and Hathaway played better for the Caps than like anybody else did this whole postseason. They were absolutely dogging it every time they were on the ice. Those three, in my book, played, they showed up for the playoffs. They did their job. And if the superstars had done that as well, I seriously think we would have won the series in like 5 or 6 games, but they didn't. So
They were the best line all series long. And that's just, that's
all season long too, basically.
Right. And that's great, but it's not a recipe for success.
They were together as a line since like the 3rd week of the season, and they never got switched up after that. And so you have that kind of line chemistry, good things are usually going to happen.
I think the big issue at least for me, is everyone's saying, oh, this is really, really bad because it's their 3rd first-round exit in 3 years. That happens to a lot of good hockey teams. It's the playoffs. I think the bigger issue is, look at the way they lost the last 2.
Exactly.
3 years ago, that was a series with Carolina. That was back and forth. That was
series against a good hockey team.
Right.
And like you said, lots of back and forth. And you can't really, like, at the end of that series, you got to just say, hey,
right.
Oh, well.
Game 7, double overtime.
Bummer. Yeah.
Crazy bounce. Let's be real. But the way that they just were emasculated by the Islanders 2 years ago, and then essentially the same thing happened after the first game here. So it's just bad.
And like you said, I mean, I seriously wouldn't be sitting here like complaining nearly as much if like the Islanders series last year and the Bruins series this year, if each of them had gone like 6 games or like 7 or something like that, and we had looked good and looked like we gave a fucking shit and looked like we wanted to win another Stanley Cup, but we didn't at all. Like that Islanders series and this Bruins series, like after game 1 at least of this Bruins series, we just were like, whatever, let's golf. Like fuck it.
No, seriously. I mean, the elimination game, game 5, they get one in the third period to pull within one. And then they, dumb turnover. Oshie throws a blind backhand pass up the middle of the ice instead of he's looking at the wall, just rim it off the wall and out of your zone.
And they were buzzing hard too. Like Sherry gets that immediate goal to start the third, and you're like, okay, maybe we're not done. Maybe the Caps have a little bit of fucking heart in them. And they looked good for about 8 or 10 minutes. And then, as soon as they just toss that one up the middle, it's like, well, all right, we tried, game over. Even though
exactly.
There's time on the clock. And then after that, God fucking damn it. Let me just rant about this for a second. Lars Eller scores a goal and they call goaltender interference immediately. And Laviolette like looks at the fucking iPad for a second and like looks at his other coaches. Ref comes over. He's like, what's it going to be, buddy? And like, I literally read Laviolette's lips. He pulls down his mask and goes, we're good. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? There's 5 minutes left. I don't care if you think you're not going to get the call. You have to challenge it. You absolutely have to in that scenario. Like, just fucking try, dude.
Back up against the wall.
And here's the other thing. If he was worried about like, oh, we're going to get a minor penalty or whatever if we're wrong, we were already on the power play at that point too. So that would have just made it like 4-on-4. And again, there's 5 fucking minutes left. You either have that goal on the board and you have a chance, or you don't have that goal on the board and you're going to lose. And it doesn't fucking matter anyway if you get the call wrong. Like, just fucking try at that point. I didn't understand that at all. That made me so mad.
Yeah. I remember you and I were texting when that happened, and I said, or just use it as another timeout because you've got to do something. You need a break. You need to regroup. Yeah,
again. And then if you're wrong, at least you just got a second to regroup with the team and reel them all in and say, like, look, guys, look at the fucking clock. There's 5 minutes up there and you're down by 2 goals. Go fix it. Like, fuck me.
It's bad. And the effort just wasn't there. I know that this team was not 100% healthy. I don't think anyone's, going to debate that because, guys were probably playing at, 65, 75%. It's just bad when the effort doesn't look like it's there and it's that blatantly obvious. I think it was, blatantly obvious to everyone that watched it. I mean, kudos to Boston though. I mean, they just dismantled them and suffocated them.
Yeah, and they got the big goals when they needed. I think too another pivotal moment is them getting that game 2 goes to overtime and they score like 30 seconds in before we even had a chance to like really do anything. So they did a great job of hitting us where it hurts in a lot of ways and deflating us, and that's exactly what happened. So it sucks, but yeah, go O's or whatever, go pick your NBA team, go Bucks, whatever you want to say. And sit back and watch the rest of the NHL playoffs. Hopefully the Penguins will lose and that'll give us a little bit of
come on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that'll give us a little bit of redemption there. Feel a little
you
better.
picked them to win.
I know, but
don't you want to look smart?
No, I don't want them to win.
Okay.
I will say the Oilers, as much money as that lost all of us, it's kind of nice seeing another good team just get absolutely fucking dicked. Takes the heat off of us a little bit, so I did enjoy that last night.
One of the things that I feel like just was a shocker to me is that Wilson played so well in game 1. I think he had a goal and he had an assist on that overtime winner.
Yeah.
And I just didn't really hear his name that much the rest of the series. I mean, my dad was watching, game 1, and he said the Capitals are just going to literally bully their way through the Bruins. And I said, yeah, they very well could. You got Dylan, Chara, Wilson, Dowd, Hathaway, all these, rough and tough customers. But I didn't really see Wilson fuck it. Like, if he's not in the headlines, I feel like that there's something wrong. I didn't really see him do too much in the last 4 games. Do you guys feel like I have some reasonable doubt there? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that can be said for the entire top 6.
Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
and it's so weird that game one actually looked good.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, well, I guess there's the other thing we haven't talked about. It's tough to win a series when you start with Vitek Vanacek. He gets
Yeah.
hurt. He comes out and halfway through the game. Then it's Craig Anderson. Then Craig Anderson starts game two. Then game three, you're starting third different goalie. And granted, Sammy played well besides the fuck up in double OT or whatever. But it's tough to win series like that. So
I was thinking this morning, I was like, I was thinking about the Panthers, and I was like, man, they've started Bobrovsky, Dreger, and Knight. I wonder what other team in NHL history has started 3 different goalies in a series. And now you just said that. I'm like, oh, it happened this year.
Yeah.
Whoops.
It's like we sort of saw over the last couple of years this 2 goalie system. That's already outdated, boys. We're on the 3 goalie
We're on the
system.
3
now.
goalie system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Fucking
know if that's
rights.
what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for you guys. I mean, obviously, I don't like the Caps, so it's not the end of the world for me. But yeah, the pod has a big Caps fan base. I would have liked to see things get a little more competitive. So
Well, we wanted a fucking Caps Penguins series too.
I
and
know.
now
Right.
It looks like
We're not going to get either.
might
I don't
both
think.
be having Caps Penguins golf tournament or some shit.
Mac, what's your or Harry too? What's your one change you would like to see in the offseason? I don't think you said you were happy with Laviolette behind the bench, or do you think that change needs to be made there?
No, I mean I was frustrated with him, with the challenge shit. Not just this game, but I think he had a pattern of not wanting to challenge, and maybe that's just because he believes in the team or whatever. But I think overall I was pleased with Laviolette. I don't want to see him get booted just yet. I'd like to, give him a little bit more of a chance in a more traditional season as well. And hopefully with, less guys going in and out of the lineup for COVID and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think the main one that I'm sure that I want to see is I want to see them find a way to trade Kuznetsov and get something good for it. Like I know he's got a heavy contract. I know he is signed for several more years. And I know he also has a no movement clause to like half of the league. But even with that in mind, he's a talented enough player that despite the season he just had, there's got to be some interest there for sure. And I believe they should be able to get somebody valuable for that.
Right. I think the thing that I would like to see, and the thing that I was disappointed with when I sort of took a step back and looked at everything, is the Caps went with the old veteran mentality this year. Bringing in, I know he didn't play, but like bringing in Lundqvist, Chara, that route. They're the oldest team in the league.
Right.
Clearly has not worked.
No, and that's not the way that the NHL works anymore.
Right.
And
I don't know why.
The Leafs have a little bit of a better model if you want to talk about that, because they have those veteran guys, but they're not like
they're on league minimums.
Yeah, so. And they're not just completely filled with them in and out of the lineup. I mean, the Caps are statistically the oldest team in the league, like across the board. And at least the Leafs still have some young guys in Marner and in Matthews, even is still young, and Nylander, of course. Yeah. So, I mean, they've got a lot of young guys that are contributing and speedy guys that, can skate circles around you for 3 periods all night long. So that's a little bit more of what we need. I know some Caps fans out there are talking about how we need to beg for Jacob Vrana back. I don't think that's it either. I mean, trade Kuznetsov and we'll see what we can get for him.
Right. I have zero remorse about the Vrana trade. I'm sorry for anyone that needs to hear that. That was the right move. It was still the right move. It's still a good deal.
Nick, I think I said this to you yesterday, is that people were saying like, oh God, we got fleeced. Like Mantha didn't really do shit in the playoffs. Like whatever. Here's the brutal reality is like, you can't look at 2018 Jake Vrana and say that's the guy that we traded away. You didn't trade away him. You traded away 2021 Jacob Vrana, whose coach is Peter Laviolette, which clearly didn't match. It just wasn't a match. And you might think that's stupid or dumb or, why do we have Laviolette or whatever? I don't know. I'm not the owner. I'm just telling you.
Too bad. Exactly. This is right. No, you're exactly right. This is the direction the team is moving in, and either get on board or get out. And that's just the way it goes. It's no hard feelings. It's not, we all love Jake Vrana and everything, but when a team moves in a certain direction that doesn't fit a certain player, moves have to be made, and that's what was
It's
done.
dollars and
So,
cents.
yeah.
I just think you guys can't lose Oshie. That would be my one thing.
Yeah,
I know the
expansion draft has me
Well,
very nervous for that.
I don't think we will though, because I think we will be able to protect him. Like
I hope so.
I don't see a scenario where we don't protect Oshie, especially with the little leeway we have of being able to not sign Ovi until after the expansion
Right.
draft. You know,
That's
I
Right.
think
that's
that's
the key.
thing that a lot of Caps fans are forgetting when they're out here saying, "Oh, we might lose Oshie," like because we have to protect Ovi. We don't have to protect Ovi because he's
True.
not on our team right now, technically. So.
All right. I think we've beat that down pretty well. It was relatively civil. Good job. Yeah. You want to move on to Isles Pens?
Yeah. So
Yeah, let's hear about some of your pain now.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Your turn.
It's fucking brutal, let me tell you. 2 games since we last spoke. I'll be real quick on game 4. We sucked. Malkin sucked. We got beat 4-1, and that's really all there is to know. We took way too many penalties, and we got stuck in retaliation shit, and it's just not going to get you anywhere. So we got dicked. So we come back to Pittsburgh last night, 2-2, game 5, and we played a really, really good game. I can't even – I'm almost like not mad. I mean, I am mad, but I'm not disappointed, I guess, is because we outplayed the Islanders the entire game. I mean, I know they were showing the box scores yesterday. In the first and second period, I think we outshot them like 30 to like 11 or something resembling that. I mean, we basically tripled them. Third period was a little bit of a different story, but nonetheless, we outplayed them. And, you know, obviously Sorokin gets the start for the Isles now in game 4 and 5, and he has looked like 2000 Dominic Hasek all of a sudden. I don't know when they picked him up, but
Yeah, what a story. I mean, I didn't see this coming because Varley had an unbelievable regular season, and then he gets into the playoffs and he just looks like
Sorokin did too, for the record. I think he ended up winning like 9 games in a row and going on some like rookie goalie record thing. I don't know.
that
Harry,
is true.
You said he looked like Dominic Hasek. I think like I was watching him play last night and I was like, oh my God, it's Evgeny Nabokov all over again. I mean, he looks exactly like him.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah. Well, and he's a very good goalie, obviously, and we're struggling. My God, Palak and Polak are so fucking annoying.
That's a pair right there.
Can't stand playing against them. It is so frustrating. And Dean, if you're listening, Scott Mayfield's played pretty well, and he's got like
I was thinking that too.
I think he's got like 6 points in the series or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? He hasn't gotten walked once. You know, this is it was a tough game to swallow because obviously similar to the Caps when Samsonov and Schultz had the miscue in game 3, Jari literally passes the puck right to Josh Bailey last night.
Tape to tape.
It was a great pass.
Boom. To the other team. Boom. OT winner. It's like, you know, double OT winner. It's just, I don't know if we recovered.
What Joe B likes to call a bang bang play.
Yes, it is exactly that.
Although normally it's coming from somebody on your own team when he says that.
Right. It's just a tough game to swallow because you outplayed them. You took it to double OT. I thought, you know, we were going to actually pull it out at some point in OT because we were outplaying them, like I said, but a boneheaded play by Jari and we end up losing. I mean, he played relatively well despite that one play, but that's the third game of the series. Well, that's the second game of the series our goalie lost us. He lost us game 1 and he lost us that last night. So that's another hard pill to swallow.
All right, Harry, do you want the good news or the bad news?
I want the bad news.
I'm gonna start with the good news, and then I'll give you the bad news. So the good news is that the way that the Penguins lost that game, and the way that, like you said, they totally outplayed the Islanders last night, that to me feels like a perfect setup for them to come into Game 6 is in Long Island, right?
Yeah.
It feels like they're gonna come in. They're gonna, it's Sid and the boys. There's a lot of heart in that lineup, a lot of veteran leadership, a lot of been there before type deal. I think there's a high chance they find a way to win that game in Long Island and
I'd
force
rather
7.
just lose in 6 because I know.
However, here's the bad news: it's going to be really fucking hard to beat Barry Trotz and the Islanders in 2 games in a row.
Yep.
When they're trying to finish off a series. Barry is one of the best at finding a way to just eke out one of these 2 games with like a 1-0 or a 2-1 victory. And you guys are, it's gonna be tough to win both of them. It's possible, of course, but it's gonna be fucking tough.
That's definitely crossed my mind. I'd rather lose in 6. I'm just being honest. I'd like to take my Memorial Day weekend, reel it in the right way, in peace, harmony, love, not violence. But
what have your thoughts been on Crosby so far?
Yeah, so he only has 2 points through the series right now. One of which was last night. I mean, they are neutralizing him pretty well. I mean, obviously I'm a little disappointed with the way he's played, but like I said, Pelech and Polak are fucking nuts, dude. They are glued to everybody. Who I am disappointed with is Jake Gensel. He hasn't done anything, and they are manhandling.
I know.
him.
I listened to your advice and bet him to score a goal, and he didn't fucking do
yeah.
shit.
Well, I figured like, all right, the bubble's gonna burst. Like historically in the playoffs, he's one of the. I think he's like top 5 in the league in like goals per game in the playoffs. He hasn't done anything. And they've bullied him. I mean, he looks like a child getting tossed around behind the net. So that's one thing that I think they need to fix on the power play is, and we saw it in Game 3. Gensel took a penalty. They put Jeff Carter on the power play. Boom, he scores. He's 6'4", 220. What are you going to do to him? I mean, so I don't know. I have a really, really bad feeling, Mac, that you're right in your guesstimate is that we pull out Game 6, we continue to play hard, and then in 7, it's a 2-1 dagger with like 8 minutes left, and Pavilier makes me want to break my TV screen. I already know it, so I'm fully prepared.
This is the beauty of the Caps being out is I'm sitting over here. I would love to see a Game 7 between the Islanders and the
Absolutely.
Penguins. I think that would be so much fun.
No.
I love the way these 2 teams match up against each other. There's a lot of hate between these 2 teams and the fan bases too. So I would be all for it and be in Pittsburgh. I feel like it'd be a lot of fun.
I'm not feeling great. I'm saying it now. I'd rather lose in 6. I don't want to go to 7. It's not good.
I
for
hear
me.
you on that one. As if that's your team, of course, I'm with you.
Yeah. So we'll see. Good news is Malkin looked good last night. Letang has been playing some of his best hockey of his career. So if you tell me those 2 things, I'd probably tell you we're up in the series. But
not gonna lie, after the 2018 playoffs, I thought Letang was like on the way out. He looked so bad, but he's really turned it around and had a couple of good seasons. And like you said, he's
really
been well so far in the playoffs this year. So
yeah, he's played really, really well this season for us, which is surprising. But I don't know. We'll see. It'd be nice to have like a bona fide goalie who is the number one.
I hear you.
There's one guy that I know that's kind of like that. His name is Marc-Andre Fleury, and yeah, it'd be really nice if the Penguins had a guy like that right now. You know what I mean?
Whatever happened to him?
I don't know. Yeah, he played for some team, and then I think they cut him, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't really want you." So
yeah,
he ended up somewhere else. But
sounds like Braden Holtby too.
Except he sucks now, and we don't want him back.
Yeah. Nah, I feel that. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Right. Let's get into something that will make you feel a little bit better. Jets Oilers. Okay. So
how's that make
that's not going to make Harry feel any better. I just
lost a shit ton of money on it.
He lost his fucking life savings.
So do we want to explain what the thought process was there?
Well, you act like I'm the only one. We talked to Rick. Rick said, yeah, that's got to be a lock.
No.
Nick and I are sitting over here pointing fingers. Why did you pick the Oilers?
Everyone picked the Oilers.
Everyone picked the Oilers.
We're all scratching our heads on this one. Yeah. Collectively, the hockey gambling community just,
It's horrible.
The Winnipeg Jets are just... I cannot get a bead on this team. I put a suspension on myself betting on them 2 years ago because one game they would be incredible and the next game they would be horrible, and I still can't get a beat on this team. They're
coming a team you should stay away from when you're gambling.
Yes.
Can we bash the Oilers first real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
They scored 3 goals this entire series without McDavid or Draisaitl included. 3.
Well, that clip before the playoffs started when we were talking about how McDavid's not going to be
Yeah.
enough, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I just didn't think it would be that bad, but McDavid ended up having 4 points, right? So on paper, it's like, oh, it was a point per game in the series, which he was, but it doesn't tell the whole story. I mean, games 1 and 2, he was held scoreless. So, in my opinion, that's more important is when the points are coming rather than how the number of points there actually are. Yeah, 2 OT. I think game 3 went to OT too, right? Am I wrong in that?
Yeah, that was the implosion game.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I don't.
That's
don't
another
even-
one. All these game threes, man, this year have been huge.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if they find a way to get that goal in game 3 and make it a 2-1 series, who knows? But they don't, and now they're on the
Right.
golf course. So
Yeah, So if you haven't seen yet, the Jets swept the Oilers with a triple overtime goal last night, I believe, by Kyle Connor to ice the series. So
yes, sir.
McDavid and company are packing to the golf course. So this reminds me that game 3 loss. The Oilers were up 3-1 with 8 minutes left in the third period. I was counting money because I went big on the money line, like because I was like, all right, I'm already this deep. I'm just gonna go deeper, and I went to bed, and then I woke up, and then my buddy, shout out Daniel Feccio, I advised him to take all this with me, and I apologize, but you know what, I did that to a lot of people actually. You wake up, it's like 6:45, 7. You're like, oh God, like another day of work, whatever. You scroll and you just see like, oh God, like fuck the Oilers. And I'm like, no.
Oh no.
It's that.
It's that message.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
that message.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
it's,
that-
it's like
it's that.
it's like when you're waking up and you're just like you put the phone above your head and you're just scrolling and you're like, what the fuck? Like I was awake till 8 minutes left. There's no way they lost the game. And then you check the NHL app and it's not one of the first 4 on the page. And you have to do that one thumb scroll and your heart is like,
Mhm.
and you have to scroll down to the bottom since it was the West Coast game. And then you look at it and you make sure your eyes are seeing it right. And then you realize your eyes are seeing it right. And you're like, how
you see the 2 worst letters in hockey betting, OT, next to the score.
Yeah,
dude,
And
how
then-
do you lose that game?
And then you see in your Cash App, you've got a request. You've got a request for way more money than you thought.
Right.
And, yeah.
A horrible performance.
Yep.
Choke job of the century. That was like Leafs Bruins type shit. That was horrible.
Yeah.
Honestly, like fuck the Oilers. Like I can't believe I put money on them. I'm never ever betting the Oilers again. And I apologize because I really did think this was a lock. And I'm not like bullshitting. Like I put my money where my mouth is and I'm paying the price. No pun intended. They suck.
They suck. They're a bad hockey team.
I want McDavid rumors now. Get him out. He's going to be 25. They've never done anything.
Well, we could sit here and shit on the Oilers for a whole episode probably and be a lot of fun, but I kind of want to know what you guys think of the Jets. Do you think that, this was just classic? They ran into a team like the Oilers that just kind of weren't set up to win a series right now? Or do you think that this is actually a team that can make some noise? I mean, whether it ends up being the Leafs or the Habs, we don't know yet. Looking like maybe slightly better chance will be the Leafs. I know Rick probably is knocking on wood as I say that, but yeah, I mean, whoever it is, whether it's the Habs, the Leafs, or even hypothetically, if they were to get further than that, do you think that the Jets are the kind of team that can make a deep run this season?
I think the recipe is there. It's a very skilled forward group. Maybe you've got some question marks on the back end, but guys like Morrissey are playing out of their mind right now. And then the stud Vezina winning goaltender between the pipes, that I think this is the classic recipe for like a Cinderella playoff run.
It's all about
USA too.
Yep.
Connor Hellebuyck.
It's all about the goaltending. That's all it is. And they got a good goalie. What I will say is if they do play the Leafs or the Habs for that matter, both goalies in that series look pretty darn good right now. So
Habs Jets would be an unreal series, I think, at this point.
I know the fact that we all talked about how we weren't going to watch if that was
the
matchup. And the more I think about it, Carey Price versus Connor Hellebuyck, that might be kind of a cool matchup, honestly.
Yeah.
The Leafs are taking it. So
I think Nikolai Ehlers looks incredible. He's hitting that like form that a lot of people were, wondering where that was. So
Right.
good for the Jets. I mean,
And how about Matthew Perreault still being a reliable
right?
player in the NHL after all
Yeah.
these years too? I mean, he's been around for quite some time and he's been making noise for quite some time. I remember when he was on the Caps, I got his Winter Classic jersey in 2011 because I really liked his like just gritty, like small
Yeah.
guy energy, and he's played that way for the last 10 years. So good for him. Kudos to the rest of the Jets.
It's weird that he doesn't have the long hair anymore, though.
Yeah, I don't like that. He needs the like floppy shit, like
Right.
flopping out of the back of his helmet.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the other North Division series?
Yeah.
Habs, Leafs. We got the Leafs up in that series 2-1 after a scary game one with the whole Tavares incident. Leafs have bounced back nicely. 5-1 win in game two. They pretty much owned that game. Spezza, Nylander, Matthews, they all looked really good. And then game three, they pull out a tight win. Cole Caulfield made his NHL playoff debut for the Habs. He had a really good chance with about 7 seconds left in the game to try and tie it, but Jack Campbell looked incredible, and he's playing really well right now in these all three games, really, but especially in the last two. They do have a back-to-back. Game four will be tonight, May 25th, the day that we are recording. So curious to see how the teams and coaches handle who's starting to net for that. With back-to-backs, usually you're seeing a backup goalie in the regular season. In the playoffs, it's a little bit of a different story.
It's kind of crazy that, I mean, I get it because they started after everyone else, but like it's kind of crazy that these Canadian teams just have to play some back-to-back playoff games. Like I can't.
Absolutely.
Has that ever happened? I mean, I'm sure probably like way back in the day it did, but like when's the last time that shit happened?
Well, I feel like they usually do 6-7s back to back, right?
Okay, that's true. Yeah, I guess there have been a few of those in the last couple of years, but that's fucking tough, man. To make a team play 2 playoff games and that's short of a span of time. That shit takes a lot out of you, and you got guys laying on the ice blocking shots and all that.
Yeah, for sure. Did you guys see the I know Harry, you talked about Caulfield having a chance to tie that game up. Did you see the like Corey Perry to Nick Suzuki pass in front of the net that this much?
That by like a millimeter.
Yeah. I think Jack Campbell looks incredible. I thought he played an awesome game last night.
For sure. And if we were doing our first and fourth liner segment still, I would say William Nylander is easy first liner.
For sure.
He's looked incredible so far. 3 goals in 3 games, a goal in each game. It's funny. So he was asked by a reporter last night post game. They're like, where do you get your confidence from? Like, how do you carry yourself with so much confidence? And he just says, I was born like that. Talk about a fucking good-looking, high-paid, skilled Swedish player who's basically got it made, and he just comes out with that. It's like, I kind of wish I was him.
Yeah, I really wish I was him.
Do you guys like the over or the under for this second of back-to-backs?
Is that 6?
Probably. I haven't looked yet, but
we'll say it's 6. It might be 5.5, but if it's 6.
I mean, I guess it also depends if either goalie. I mean, I can't imagine either team
starting.
going to different. If I'm them, I just stick with the starter. I know it's back to back, but it's the playoffs. I think you still got to stick with Campbell and Price.
Yeah, I think they will. I definitely think they will. One little rivalry I want to highlight is that Matthews and Weber. They've been getting. Shea Weber's not a guy that I would particularly fuck with. He's pretty scary and he's been around a while, but Matthews showing no fear. They've gotten into it a couple times now, especially behind the net. I don't know if you guys have seen the memes, but Matthews likes to do this thing where he just puts his hands up and he's just like when he's getting dragged or tossed, and I think that's pretty funny. And he's still getting penalties called on him. Just like Max said, it's not always both guys.
It's not
right. The one with Mantha too and all that.
Oh my God.
About. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So game 4 will be tonight. That'll be a huge game for the Habs. If the Leafs go up 3-1, I don't really see a way the Habs are going to get back from that. So we'll see what happens tonight.
Knights Wild.
Yeah. Nick, I'll let you start with this one.
Yeah. So Vegas is just rolling 4 lines right now. I think they're finding their groove, and Minnesota is starting to struggle a little bit. I think they started off the series hot, but guys like Kevin Fiala not having a point in the entire series, and I don't think Eriksson Ek can score any more goals that are going to get called back, because it's happened in the first 2 games of the series. So they just need more help, and I think this is now where we've reached the point where it's just a gap in talent between these 2 teams.
You do know Minnesota won last night, right?
I do.
Okay.
It's ridiculous that they won. They got outshot 40-14, and they found a way to win 4-2. Like Cam Talbot, man, is standing on his freaking head out there. He's played for a shitload of teams.
He's been around.
But I don't think he's like, I know he hasn't won a cup, and I don't think that he has even really like gone super far in the playoffs, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Mac, it's funny you mentioned the shot differential, because the opposite is what happened in game 4, and that's when Vegas won. That Minnesota like doubled them in shots.
That's correct. Yeah.
Fleury stood on his head, and Vegas ended up winning. Seeing a trend here where, maybe the key now is to have a goalie who just steals a game and you don't really need to try. I don't know. It'd be nice if the Penguins had that, but I don't think we have that luxury.
The Caps tried it, except their goalie turned the puck over to the other team, and then their team didn't try.
Yeah, relatable. Nick, what are your thoughts? You see this thing going 7? I mean, with Minnesota winning game 5 last night, the series is going back to Minnesota for game 6. What do you think?
I want this thing to go 7 so bad. I really do.
Fun.
Because I really think that if the Wild got it to game 7, they have a legitimate chance.
Yeah.
Do you think it will?
The bigger thing too is like, if Minnesota can find a way to get through Vegas, they have easier opponents, in my opinion, ahead of them. Like I think if they have a chance of getting through Vegas, they could actually make a seriously deep run.
Yeah. So they would go to Colorado next.
And I wanted them to get the Avalanche to start the playoffs, and that didn't end up happening, obviously, but I liked that matchup better than them against Vegas. Even though they did well against Vegas this regular season, for some reason I thought they had a better chance against Colorado, and I think that I still like that matchup for them.
There's some history there too. Some recent history as well.
Big time.
Yeah.
So I would love to see that. Harry, to answer your question, yes, I'm rooting for chaos. I think this is coming back to Vegas for a game 7.
I actually don't think it will. I would love to see it as well, but I think that Fleury will shut them out.
I got Vegas on the road. I think Fleury will bounce back.
I think
he only made 10 saves the whole game.
I know. I
That's
think
nuts.
the Knights will win like 3-0, and Fleury will bounce back and have a big shutout. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, he only made 10 saves last night. He had a 750 save percentage. I'd like to see how many times that's happened in his career.
Is Robin Lehner going it?
If that was like 20 shots on net, I feel like maybe, but
or if that was like they were up 3-0 and now it's 3-1 or something, maybe you throw Lehner in there because it's a good opportunity to get him a game or something. But yeah, you can't mess around with that when you literally are trying not to go 7.
Moving on to Avalanche Blues. Don't think there's a whole lot to dissect here. The Avalanche sweep the Blues 4-0. Nathan McKinnon is in his typical playoff form. He's got 9 points in 4 games played so far this season. If you look at the all-time stats with a minimum of 30 postseason games played, he ranks 4th all-time on that list with 1.43 points per game in the postseason in his young career so far. The Avalanche outscored the Blues 20-7 and trailed for only 7 minutes over the entire 4 games. Grubauer looked good. Avs are a wagon. Don't think there's a whole lot to say here other than that. Any thoughts?
I think they're getting smacked in the second round. I really do. I really, really do. I think that the way, whether it's Vegas or Minnesota, I think they're getting smacked in the second round in like a 6-game series or something like that, because you got the Knights and you got the Wild over here battling it out in a really competitive playoff series. and one of them is going to win either in 6 or 7 games and still have a little bit of time off probably before that next series starts. And the Avs are looking like Team Canada in the World Juniors, barely trailing. I mean, obviously Team Canada didn't trail that
I
whole tournament
love
or
that
whatever, but
comparison.
literally, I just don't think that this is a good like setup for them. And this is what I said when we did our playoff preview. I don't like this for the Avalanche. I don't think it's good for them to play a team like St. Louis, who I mentioned, in my opinion, were the worst team in the playoffs this season. And I think that's very clearly correct after we saw what they did. I seriously think they're going to get fucked in the second round.
Well, that's a hot take. Nick?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I agree, Mac, and I think that it's another thing you have to factor in is the fact that they're also going to be sitting for probably another 4 or 5 days at a minimum. So
and I say all that while I'm wearing a
Nordiques hoodie,
Nordiques hoodie too.
And Harry's got
got
his
the
Avs hoodie on
too, but
I think my favorite takeaway from the series was the Grubauer social media troll job he did on Binnington last night. Did you guys see that post he made?
No,
I didn't. What happened?
So he posted like a picture of the referees like separating them, and he was like memories from round 1.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Binnington's such a hothead too. I bet he saw that and just started fuming.
Exactly. And I feel like that's what we need is like, we've got like a team rivalry, and we've got like, Tom Wilson versus the world, or Austin Matthews and Shea Weber. I feel like we need 2 goalies that just like don't fucking like each other.
That actually would be
good.
That
is cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. All right, not too much to say there other than the Avalanche are a fucking wagon. We'll see what hot takes take place for round number 2. Now we're moving on to the Battle of the South. We got the Predators versus the Hurricanes. Hurricanes were up in the series when we last spoke 2-0, and the series came back to Smashville with 12,000 strong at that home arena, loud as shit. And both games go to overtime, and the Predators end up taking both, and now we got ourselves a series.
I love this series. I did not expect it to be exciting the way it is. I thought the Hurricanes were actually going to kind of walk the Preds. I'm pleasantly surprised to be wrong here. I said this the other day. What my buddy texted me, he said, sorry about the Caps. Who are you rooting for now? And I said, go Preds for some reason, because I don't know. It's tough not to root for this team. I really like the way they're playing. I enjoyed watching some of their final regular season games, the way UC Saros was just shutting teams down single-handedly. They're a fun team, honestly. They're really fun with like Forsberg and Duchesne, and that Luke Kunin guy is really playing sick. Well as well. He scored a couple of huge goals in game 4. But I love their announcers too. They just really electric energy from that team as a whole. And I'm rooting for them. I would love to see them get past Carolina. I also hate the fucking Hurricanes. So.
Same. I think that's the bigger point is fuck the Canes constantly all the time.
Their fucking social media. I would love to see them just like lose the next 2, literally after going up 2-0, just losing 6. Like,
right.
Big middle finger to you guys.
Exactly. I could not agree more. I think Saros looks locked in. He's not, I wouldn't say he's been anything like incredible, but he's doing what he needs to do. He's keeping them in these like last 2 games. So I think this is anyone's series at this point. I think, like you said at the beginning, we were like, oh, this is going to be over in 4. It's definitely not. So.
Yeah, it's Nashville's putting up a great fight. I had to look up that Luke Kunin guy, Nick. I'm not sure if you know a little bit more about him, but I just looked up. He was drafted in 2015 by the Wild.
Like I was just going to say, overall. Wasn't he a Minnesota guy? And
yep.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't make that up.
He was drafted pretty high, 15th overall. I mean, you're talking about, first half of the first round. So he's an American guy too.
Yep. Gotta love that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just feel like Carolina, they're too deep. I can't really imagine they're gonna blow this, especially with Brindamore as the coach. I just, how there's certain coaches where you just kind of know they're gonna fucking bring it no matter what. Trotz is one of them, right?
Laviolette was one of them, but I mean, I guess
Yeah.
he didn't have a team to work with. It's not his fault, but
Quinville and Cooper come to mind. I put Rod Brindamore
Totally.
in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I'm
don't
with
see
you.
a scenario where I don't see a scenario where he doesn't have his team 1,000,000,000% prepared for everything that's coming their way.
I think
I mean,
Cooper whines a little bit.
yeah, he's kind of a little bitch boy.
A little bit, but I don't know. I think Canes will probably take it still. I do think it might go 7. I mean, with the trend that we're seeing, the home team wins every game.
Who wins tonight? You guys think the Canes win in Raleigh?
Yeah, I got Canes.
I think the Canes bounce back and get it done at home.
Yeah.
I think that the Predators are going to continue to puzzle the Canes for one more game and really make them like head scratch here. And I think that similarly to the Pens Isles series, that's the way that this one ends up going 7, because I think that if the Canes win tonight, it won't go 7. I feel like they'll find a way to like close it out after that. But
That's a good take. I like that.
yeah, I feel like Nashville's gonna like get outplayed tonight, but find a way to win, probably because of Saros or something like that.
Yeah, no, I could see that happening.
But God, I would
that
just love to see
all-important
the
Game
Canes
5.
get bounced. I would just love to see the Canes get bounced.
Yeah.
Fucking storm surge, more like shit storm.
Serious.
Jesus.
So true.
Oh man. In our last series, the Battle of Florida, the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. We had the Lightning up in the series 3-1 going into last night's contest in Sunrise. And then Spencer Knight makes his NHL playoff debut. He's the third goalie that the Panthers have used in this series. And he let in the very first shot of the game. And you know how he rebounded? A 20-year-old goalie. I repeat, 20-year-old. He made 36 saves in a row after that, bouncing back perfectly for the Cats. The Cats end up winning the game. Series is 3-2. We're going back to Tampa for game 6. I don't know if they'll be able to pull that one off. That is really tough to do.
That is a tough draw for them.
That's a tall task.
I don't see any way that the Panthers find a way to win this series at this point. It's great that they won that last game, but after losing 6-2 in the all important game 4 to go down 3-1 the series, I don't see it happening. But I would love it. I don't see it.
Yeah. I think Spencer Knight's the real deal. Oh my God. I mean,
yeah, man, he looks great.
What an absolute stud performance that was. I can't imagine trying to do that at 20 years old and looking so calm and collected while doing it.
Against the best team in the league, basically, like literally some of the most threatening shots on that lineup from Kucherov and Stammer and those guys.
He made that one save on Kucherov where Kucherov had like a break down the right wing, and Knight's like 100 yards out of the cage to challenge him and just take the angle away. It was just such a pro move.
So I want to ask you guys, because this has been one of the things that Kenny Albert talks about 17 different times in the game. The Cats are running a 5-forward power play, no defenseman. Especially they had Keith Yandel out there for one of them, but he got scratched in game 4. That's a whole different subject. What do you think about the 5-forward power play? Do you think more teams should be trying to do that?
As a Washington Capitals fan, it makes my insides shake because because
we already give up 6,000 shorthanded goals a year.
Because the thought of Ovi and then another forward trying to go D to D at the blue line is terrifying to me.
The way Carlson ends up flat-footed on those every time, he may as well be a forward, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really helping us to have him as our D on the ice in those situations.
The Caps kind of used to do that with Mike Green because
he's basically a forward. Yeah,
and that puck tended to go the other way a lot. So
it's an interesting tactic, and I'm a little surprised that more teams don't dabble with it. But that Panthers power play looked really good last night. I mean, they worked the puck really well. Barkov looks like he's a defenseman at the point.
There's been a bunch of colleges and junior teams that have done that. And like some of them have made it work. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's all dependent on the team, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing I'd like to mention is that, Panthers last night, instead of obviously Barkov had a couple points, but no goal. Huberdeau didn't have a goal. Trocheck didn't have a goal. It's not the typical guys. You got Hornquist, Marchment, these guys that are grinders and mucking it up all series long. They get on the board in game 5. So I think that gives the Panthers a little bit of hope because you would now think that in game 6, the Stars are going to come to play. So I don't know. It's really hard to go into Amalie Arena and take a game 6 there and try and force it home, but it would be a hell of a storyline, wouldn't it? Because
Well,
I think this
and
series deserves 7.
you're absolutely right. I think that a lot of people are forgetting, myself included, in a lot of people. A lot of people are forgetting that Panthers have home ice advantage here, and if they are able to force 7, it's coming back to Florida, like you said. So I mean, well, coming back to Florida, I guess the whole fucking series is in
Sunrise,
Florida,
yeah.
but yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, if
It
they
will
find a
stay
way
in Florida.
to steal Game 6, that would be huge.
They need to stay out of the box. I think, Huberdeau's been great all series, but he did take the really dumb hooking penalty while they were on the power play last night. That Sergachev basically just, he got his stick in here. Sergachev just grabbed it and fell over. So it looked like a hooking penalty, but you just can't get baited into stuff like that.
Am I correct that they had like full capacity at this Panthers game?
100%.
Was it straight up 100% like sold out arena?
I don't think it was sold out because it is still the Panthers, but it's the most I've seen an arena filled since in the last 2 years. So
I gotta think that kind of helped them win. No, I mean they had a huge crowd behind them and they win 4-1. That's the kind of win that you need in game 5.
It's so funny to me to think that the Florida Panthers are utilizing like their home crowd advantage over like the Winnipeg Jets or the Leafs or the Oilers. Like
if like 2 years ago somebody said like, hey, in 2021 playoffs, the Panthers will have like the biggest crowd out of any team or whatever. Like I don't think most of us. Yeah, exactly. But here we are. Now it's obviously
that reminds
circumstantial, but
one thing I don't think we've mentioned is that the Canadians announced that I believe I guess it would be game 6 if it goes that far, that they will actually have 2,500 fans at the Bell Center. So that's kind of cool.
I do think that's we talked about earlier too when we were doing our playoff previews about how it's very possible that whoever gets out of the Canadian division just gets absolutely worked after they're out of it. I wonder if the fan thing will play in as well, because I gotta think it's different just playing in those empty stadiums and then suddenly you're going on the road to play in Vegas or something like that, and it's just like you're getting fucking heckled out there.
Yeah,
and
it's a culture shock.
Exactly. So I
those
think
guys
that
haven't
might
seen
play
fans
into it
all
as
year.
well.
Yeah, they haven't played in front of fans all year. That's definitely a factor that I think will play a role because they're not used to I mean, you could say what you want. They've played hockey all their life, but when you haven't played in front of fans for 4 months and you've played, 60 games, all of a sudden you get thrown into chaos. That's a little bit of an adjustment to make. So that definitely plays a role. They also need to still figure out the Canadian border thing. I know that they're working on that, but we'll see what happens with that probably in the next 2 weeks, I would say.
I hope so, because I think the worst thing they could do is give us like an awkward, like week-long gap between the second and third round. I think that would be a disaster.
Yeah, and that would be unfair for teams too, in my opinion, because just momentum is so huge this time of year, and especially 2 weeks from now, it's even bigger. So
yeah. Well, that covers all the series. Real quick, I think Mac already gave his with the Avalanche getting bounced in the second round. But any hot take predictions that you have up to this point?
You mean going into the second round, or
or even
the first?
Even to finish the first round, it doesn't matter.
I think the Cats force Game 7 somehow.
Okay. Do you think they win Game 7?
I don't know. I picked them in 7, so
say they do.
Yes. Yeah.
Say it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what mine would be. I mean, if the Predators beat the Canes, and I know Whitney said this on Chicklets, that would be the biggest upset of the playoffs. I somewhat disagree. I personally thought before the playoffs started that if the Jets beat the Oilers, it would be the biggest upset. And wow, did that not age well?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
I think if the Wild upset Vegas, it would be the biggest upset. Or if the Cats upset Tampa, it has to be one of those two.
I do think both of those would be more shocking, in my opinion, than the Preds upsetting Carolina.
If I have to give a hot take, I don't necessarily fully believe this will happen, but I wouldn't be shocked. I think the Leafs end up winning the next two, and they just gentlemen sweep the Habs.
I will say, I mean, obviously you never want to see a guy get hurt, especially, your captain, somebody like that. But I do think the group has found a way to rally around that and that could end up being a good thing for them. Of course, obviously,
Right.
injury is never a good thing, but you
Could
know
be
what I
the
mean.
start of their DVD. Just saying.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, Chris. All right, boys. Well, that does it for today's episode. If you guys got any final notes that you want to mention, no,
No.
go check out
You're
the summer merch.
Yeah, check out the summer merch. Our siblings graduated, so Jack and Caroline, congratulations. Keep up the
Yeah.
good work.
Nice.
Yeah. Check out that summer merch. You can find link in all of our bios, social bios. Go to the website, www.emptybetters.com. Click on shop. You'll see the summer merch right at the top. We'll be announcing something cool for that in the coming weeks. Just keep an eye out on that. But we should be having our round 2 previews coming up soon. Maybe next week, I think. I mean,
Something like that.
yeah. So we'll keep you guys in the loop. But enjoy the rest of round 1. Hopefully you enjoyed our misery. It's not really that fun to be a Caps or Pens fan right now. So
Real quick, one more thing, Nick. Now that I know, I said I'm kind of rooting for the Preds. Who's your team now? Like, who do you want to win it all now that the Caps are out?
I'm gonna root for the Panthers for the meantime. I just, maybe
now.
it's the crowd, maybe it's just the players on the team. It's kind of hard not to root for them, in my opinion.
Fair
Plus,
enough.
I don't want the Lightning to get away with having
Yeah.
$17 million extra to sign superstars.
And if they win that series, I mean, I could see Tampa repeating if they get through the Panthers,
and that's what scares me.
Yeah, I don't want that either.
I like how you don't ask me that question because I feel like we already know.
Well, I'm not asking you.
I'm
Your
kidding,
team's
I'm
still
kidding.
in, so
Yeah. Oh, what, dude? The Penguins are fucking dead. By this next episode, you can book this conversation. If that,
well, then next episode I'll ask you, but
Yeah,
not
okay.
not yet.
Thank you. It's all good. I'm already like pulling out the Matthews jersey because this is just
And
going south.
I already know who your team is if the
Right.
Pens are out.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was going with it. All right, everybody. We appreciate you listening. And without further ado,
Class dismissed.